Good afternoon, friends. I'm Cliff Mullen. I'm here at Westover in front of our textile emporium at Santa's Workshop, where we are hosting our textile drive for the women of Sparrow House. Sparrow House is a home for women that helps address issues of sobriety, freedom from homelessness, and life beyond bars. And our goal for this textile drive is to raise 10,000 pounds of textiles that will be donated and will benefit the women of Sparrow House. And this is a great thing to be part of, not just because it's good for the women there at Sparrow House, but this is a great opportunity for you to be invited into a spiritual practice that can really make a difference in your life and in your faith. This modern world is just not a simple place to live. The sheer number of choices, options, and luxuries available for us to possess and to indulge in staggers the mind. Now, the number of choices and luxuries and the presence of stuff in our lives is not a moral issue. You can have all the stuff you want and still be a firm believer in Jesus. But there is something to be said for the correlation between a simple life and a vibrant faith. Over the next few weeks, we want to help you make that discovery for yourself. If stuff is not the enemy, then why are we making this all about getting rid of stuff? My firm conviction is that the real enemy to the spiritual health of the average American Christian is the temptation to move through life without reflection or intentionality. We are guilty of having areas of our lives where we just go with the cultural flow, unaware of the reasons, cost, or long-term outcomes. A common area in which we tend to do this is our attitude towards stuff. We keep in our lives so many things in our living spaces. For the next 3 weeks, we want you to take a very purposeful journey to look at the stuff you have in your life and ask if you can make choices about that stuff that will have a deeper spiritual impact. On a practical level, we're picking on your stuff because we have an ambitious goal of collecting 10,000 pounds of textiles for Sparrow House. Also, on a practical level, we like to pick on our stuff because every individual thing we have comes with its own set of choices and its own collection of problems. One car equals one set of problems, 2 cars equals 2 sets of problems. And sometimes our complex world requires us to take on multiples of the same item. It's pretty tough for a household to function in a place like Austin with only one vehicle. But sometimes we take on extra sets of problems because we don't take the time to ask why we're adding one more thing. A couple examples of how this looks in real life. If I can sign up for the cable plan that has 300 channels for only $5 a month more than the plan that has 150 channels, shouldn't I do that because it's a better value? No, I don't need another pair of brown shoes, but the pair I have is more of a spring style, and I need something that feels more like fall. We make these choices to add more stuff to our life on a daily basis. Usually we stop to ask if we can financially afford it, but we very rarely ever stop to ask what the cost of all these additions will be to our emotions, relationships, and spiritual lives. A truth affirmed by Jesus is that where our treasure is, there our heart will be also. More often than we'd like to admit, we find ourselves pretty attached to our stuff. On an individual level, we're likely to say that this gadget or that pair of pants is more important to us than Jesus. But what happens when we take all of those tiny attachments we have to our things and add them together? The cumulative weight of our love for all our stuff can become pretty heavy. The first thing to be crushed under the weight of all our attachments is the ability to see our choices for what they really are. Holly Fullerton, one of our mission partners here at Westover, she shared this idea with me that I think is really helpful. You know those little yellow stickers on appliances that tell us every year this item is going to cost us so much money and energy? Well, it would be really great in our lives if everything we purchased had one of those little yellow stickers, but instead of telling us how much electrical energy it will consume, the sticker could tell us how much emotional energy it will consume. And it's the weight of all of this emotional energy, this emotional consumption that can really get in the way of our spiritual journey. because we just spend all of our time dealing with the needs all these things in our life have. It's the charging batteries, trips to the dry cleaners, extra repairs, regular maintenance, time spent running updates, etc., that really begins to suck the life out of us if we aren't careful. As this physical clutter builds in our lives, we have less and less space for healthy emotions, relationships, and spiritual life. In light of the challenges that come from a cluttered and crowded life, you are officially invited to a short experiment in simplicity. Now, here are a few questions that we want you to be able to address this week with yourself and with those who are close to you, people you love. Each week, we're going to have a couple additional questions for you to talk about, and those are going to be listed below in the comments as well. First question is that we want you to think about: in what ways are you susceptible to the entitlement mentality of our age? The second question is, how has the more is better mentality spread in your own life? All of us are going to have to say yes to both of these, that we've been impacted by them. But this is a chance for you to kind of think through and talk through what that looks like in your life. Now, starting today and through the rest of this week, each day we're going to be posting a different idea for you to talk about. In this first week, we want to help give you a framework for making decisions about what's most important. Because before you start decluttering, before you start trying this practice of simplicity, you have to ask yourself, what is most important to you? And we're going to help you talk through and pray through this rubric of importance that begins with God and then moves to people and then experiences and then money and then stuff. I want to help you work through for yourself where you want to place certain things in that category and how you want to order and organize your life to reflect the things that are truly most important to you. So we hope this journey is rich for you. We'd love to hear your questions and feedback. If you have any breakthroughs or challenges with this material, we'd love to hear you share that, because we don't want this just to be about getting rid of your stuff and throwing it in this pile over here. We want you to be able to experience the freedom that comes from having a simple life that leads to a vibrant faith.